Welcome back, SethBling here. And today I want to show you a new method that I came up with for installing the Super Mario World Jailbreak onto your Super Mario World cartridge. And the special thing about this one is that it only uses a single controller. Previously, I've made videos about how to install it using a Game Genie or 3 controllers and a multi-tap, but if all you have is a Super Nintendo, a US copy of the game, and just one controller, you now have everything you need to do the Jailbreak installation. So I wrote this whole document. Mr. Cheese and Sockfolder kind of helped a little bit with some of the glitch hunting, but the vast majority of this work was done by me. Actually, I had to come up with some new methods of arbitrary code execution, or ACE for short. If you ever hear me say ACE, that's usually what I mean, arbitrary code execution. So I came up with some new methods of arbitrary code execution that only rely on a single controller, as well as just did a bunch of grunt work to take all these screenshots and write out the document, and well, come up with the procedure in the first place once I had these aces. But yeah, the document, it's like a fairly long procedure. It took me a little bit over an hour to do it in the live stream yesterday, and I knew what I was doing already, so it'll probably take you a bit longer. So there's a pretty hefty time investment if you do end up trying to do this. But here's the whole set of instructions. And okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video that I've never done before. I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to go into my video editing program and just play... Sorry about this siren in the background. I'm just going to play the video from here, and I'll be able to like do things like scrub through if I want really quickly, go through the whole thing. Here's towards the end, and here's the end when I actually have it installed. So I'll be able to actually also like play it. I can fast forward real fast, or I can rewind, go backwards. So this is something kind of new. So from here on out, the video is going to be sort of a reference that goes along with the document. Now the document you can actually download, or there's a link to that from the video description. You'll also be able to see me kind of scrolling through it in the footage from the live stream and kind of following the instructions. But this video will be kind of a companion to that document. So if you think you might be interested in doing the single controller jailbreak installation and getting that hex editor onto your Super Mario World cartridge and mod loader too, yeah, I'd recommend just watching this video first and just seeing if it might be for you. Okay, here's the hex editor in action in case you haven't seen that already. Actually, if you haven't seen the jailbreak already, you should go check out that video. There'll be a link to that in the video description as well. Alright, so from here on out, I'm going to explain what's going on. So first, I needed to clear out the SRAM on the Super Mario World cartridge. SRAM is where all of the data is stored for the save files, and it's where the hex editor gets stored and everything. So I wanted to clear it out to make sure there was no left behind data, because the jailbreak used to be installed on this cartridge. So I'm using my Super UFO Pro 8, which is a really cool device. It's a flash cartridge that also like can connect to your computer via USB, but it can also, it like has a slot in the top where you can put a cartridge in, and you can upload save file data directly to the cartridge. So you can actually install the jailbreak directly with the Super UFO. It's only like 60 bucks too. It's a really cool device. Supports like save states while you're playing and stuff. It's just like super neat. But here I was just using it to clear out the save file storage. Also, once I got in game, I did actually delete the save files manually. Somewhere in here, let's see. Let's scrub through a little bit, fast forward. Yeah, so you can see I was deleting all the save files here just to make sure. But you definitely need to make sure you erase save file C, even if it says it's already empty. It might not actually be empty, and so just hitting the erase button on this screen is what you need to do. But yeah, then from here, I'm going to try and use this fancy fast forward. From here, I entered Yoshi's Island 2, got Yoshi, got Big Mario, continue on to Yoshi's Island 3. In Yoshi's Island 3, I just beat the level, also getting Fire Flower from this box right here, and just complete the level. Okay, so now, at this point, I need to re-enter Yoshi's Island 3 and do power-up incrementation. You've probably seen me do this before if you've watched me do any Super Mario World stuff. The idea is that normally Mario's Powerup State is 0 for small, 1 for big, 2 for fire, or 2 for cape, 3 for fire. by duplicating Yoshis and doing things in a very specific way, you can actually do a glitch that increments Mario's Powerup State beyond 3 and get to 4 and then to 5. And we need to be in Powerup State 5 to do the next stage of the installation route. So the idea is, here, I'll slow it down. So you need to jump on these couple of boxes and then jump over here. And as you're in the air, after this jump, you need to jump off Yoshi. This will let you get enough height to jump on this Koopa, but it also ditches Yoshi in the pit, which you actually need to do because you have to unload Yoshi before you do this block duplication. So at this point, I need to duplicate this block. This is done by jumping, and there's like a certain frame during the jump where you need to kick the shell up. Basically, the shell has to be a certain height when you kick it up. And if you do it just right, you'll duplicate the blocks. Then you need to throw the shell up again, and that will create 2 Yoshi. So there's actually an invisible Yoshi currently on top of the top brown block. But then you get on the visible Yoshi, have him eat the red shell, and then ditch him in the pit. And now this other Yoshi has something called a null sprite in his mouth. And so from here, you need to stand on a specific pixel, and I'm actually standing on it right now. And so this isn't listed in the document. I made a video called something about Disco Mario, how to get Disco Mario, that shows a little bit more detail about how to do this. Make sure Yoshi's standing on this specific pixel of the platform, and then when the platform is like straight to the left, like all the balls are lined up going straight to the left, the ball's holding the platform in, that's when you want to, here, I'll like frame advance here. Like right about here, or here, or just like one of these few frames, that's when you want to spit out the shell. And if you do it in one of those frames, power-up incrementation happens. And so you see, as the moment I spit, I change to Powerup State 5. Then you need to ditch Yoshi and start select out of the level, and the rest of the route is going to take place in Yoshi's Island 2. So let's fast forward a bit. Now in Yoshi's Island 2, you need to fast forward more. Okay, you need to grab. Actually, you let go of that shell. You can. Let me rewind. You can actually jump on this Koopa here, but you shouldn't kill anything else as you're going to the right. But you can kill this charging chuck if you want. You don't have to. I didn't. And then you need to kill the 3 moles in this hill here. That's because they'll interfere with some of the values you're setting up later on. So you just kill them now to get them out of the way. You can't come over later and kill them. It's very important that you follow the instructions very close, because there are some things that you wouldn't think matter that matter. So then you come back to the left, jump on this guy. You need to bring the shell over here and stand on this exact pixel, and that's listed in the document. And then this part, the screen scroll is important. So as I walk to the left, as I grab the shell and walk to the left, the screen is scrolling along with Mario. And that's all fine. And in fact, I think I probably get into the spot I need to be in first try. And I didn't overshoot. So right here, the screen scroll is very important. As I destroy the screen shell, the green shell, the screen scroll is important. But if I had overshot, you can use the L and R buttons to fix the screen scroll. And I'll show you how to do that later. But here you just have to scroll all the way left. Get Mario into that exact spot. It's just to get the screen scroll set, and then kick the shell up into the Yoshi block. And it's okay if you hit the coin block that's next to it too. It doesn't really matter. Just need to make sure that you get that Yoshi block without without scrolling the screen past or left or right from where you got it earlier. So here you need to pick up the shell that's on the ground with Yoshi and spit the shell out right here. And you'll eat the berry, and that's fine. So here, next we have to do a bunch of shell spits. So to do these shell spits, you go to the right, grab the rightmost Koopa, always grab the rightmost Koopa, and then you look in the document to see where you're actually supposed to spit the shell. You can do it on top of the platform and underneath the platform. Either one is fine. But then you make sure you go to the left and all the Koopas are unloaded, and then reload all the Koopas, and then grab the rightmost shell again. So you have to do this a bunch of times, and each time you just need to spit the shell in a different position. And this is the locations, the x-coordinates of the shells when they get spit out will get run as processor instructions when we do the first ace. which once again stands for arbitrary code execution. So there's a bunch of these in a row, and I'm going to kind of fast forward. But there's 7 spits in total for this first ace. And what they do is they're putting a specific value at a specific memory location. And so you won't actually be able to see the result of this arbitrary code execution thing. Okay, so next, here, actually let me rewind a bit. So next, once you get that last shell spit, you need to spin jump off Yoshi without moving off of him, and there'll just be a single Koopa here. You grab his shell, and you come over to this specific X coordinate, not quite there, it's right here, and you kick the shell either up or to the left. I always kick it up, but then you ignore these Koopas. You need to run back to the right. It's okay to eat berries along the way. You need to run back to the right where you killed the moles, and if the moles were there still, it would be problematic. So that's why we had to kill them earlier. So you come over here, and you need to put Yoshi up on this ledge facing left at this exact pixel. And he does have to be facing left. This part is a little bit tricky here, so I'm going to pause. So we're going to get underneath this block and screen scroll right, holding the R shoulder button. Now the screen is scrolled all the way right. Next, what I'm going to need to do, or what you'll need to do, is hit the Yoshi block that Mario's standing right underneath. And that's going to spawn an egg, and the egg will spawn a 1-up. If the egg here, when it breaks, it sort of breaks into fragments. If it's on screen when it breaks, that's going to screw up the setup. So you need to make sure you run to the right just enough that it gets off screen, but not so far that it gets so far off screen that it unloads. So you'll see me just run a little bit past it, and then the 1-up does spawn, but it doesn't go far off screen, so far off screen that it unspawns. And you need to let it chase you, and then once you hit this ledge here, you have to pause the game, and so you'll see me actually pause the game. So the game is paused. At this point, you hit L down, Y and B, or you press and hold L down, Y and B. Then you'll need to press start to unpause the game, and right after you press start, you need to press and hold select. And select will cause the mushroom to drop from the item box, but the important thing is just that you have L down, Y, B, and select held when that 1-up hits you, and that the screen scroll is at, well, this exact scroll, but that's why you run into the ledge, to make sure the screen scroll gets set correctly. But here I unpause, press select, press and hold select along with those other 4 buttons, and the mushroom hits me, the 1-up mushroom hits me. And nothing visually changes, but that value that I was talking about gets set in that memory location. And so that is the entire first ace. When that 1-up hit Mario, the first ace was done. So next you have to set up something for the next ace. To do that, you get back on Yoshi, run back to the left, you get the midway point. Now you run up against these yellow pipes. Then I like to scroll left and then scroll right, and that gets the camera. That makes sure that the camera is going to be at the correct scroll. Sometimes when you walk into a ledge, the scroll isn't always set correctly. It can be a pixel too far to the right if you're walking into a ledge to the right. Just because if Mario moves more than 1 pixel in a frame, he might kind of like move the screen scroll a little bit too far, but not actually move himself. Anyway, the point is, it's safest to just screen scroll left and screen scroll right. So let me show you that again. So you get on Yoshi, kind of went too far. Get on Yoshi, get the midway point, run into this thing. You can run it at full speed. Screen scroll left, and then screen scroll right so that you're kind of in the middle of the screen. Then you walk to the left just a little bit, and you stand on this pixel and start select. And so that just sets a value up that you need later. Then you need to run to the right, and you can eat these berries and things along the way. What's important is that you eat this mole on the ground, jump back left across the pit, and then jump back right. If you don't do that, then some graphics data that we need gets messed up. Then you grab this P-switch and run off to the right, or sorry, off to the left. And you're going to bring this towards the beginning of the level. Not all the way to the beginning, but you're going to kind of spit it out on one of the hills that's next to the chuck. Make sure you don't swallow it. Yoshi will swallow things if they stay in his mouth too long, even a P-switch. So here you have to, you can kill this guy, but yeah, you have to pick up the P-switch and stand at a pixel perfect X coordinate and then kick it up. Now, your screen scroll is not important at this point. Unless I mention it in the document or say it verbally, the screen scroll is not important. So if you overshoot or whatever and you have to turn around and try it again, That's fine. It doesn't really matter. Then you get back on Yoshi. You want to stomp this green shell and this Koopa, or you can eat them. You may stomp or eat them, whatever you need to do. And then you also need to eat, just like eat and spit out one red Koopa from the right of that ledge. Then you need to do more shell spits. So we're setting up another ace here. These shell spits, again, will be run as code. This one's a lot faster, though. It's only 3 bytes of code, so it's 3 spits. So what this ace will do is it sets Mario's power-up state. Instead of it's currently at 5, it'll change it to hexadecimal 15, which is 21 in normal numbers. So it's just 3 bytes. It's very quick to do the spits. And just do them like before, same way as we did previously, and you'll do this again, and it's the same. So now here you need to screen scroll left. I think I took a while to figure out what I need to do here. I was like looking up the instructions. So you screen scroll left, and then you run ahead of the mushroom. And this time it's a little bit easier to let the mushroom. Whoa, too far. Let's rewind that. Okay, so you screen scroll left. And then run, and then hit the block, and then it's okay to let the mushroom spawn on screen, so you don't have to screen scroll right or anything. And let the mushroom just chase you down. You can, since the screen isn't scrolled to the right, it's a little bit easier. You have a lot more room. But this one, you don't even have to be pressing any buttons. So once you hit that ledge, I actually scroll left and then scroll right just to make sure that the screen scroll is correct, just like I was talking about before. But then once the mushroom does hit you, the ace triggers, and now we're at Powerup State 15. Next, we're going to do something that will look pretty similar to everything we just did. Powerup State 15 is very similar to Powerup State 5. The main difference is that... Okay, so yeah, I'm going to grab that piece switch again. But the main difference is that you can trigger the arbitrary code execution with a mushroom instead of having to do it with a 1-up. So you can still do it with a 1-up when you're in Powerup State 15, but it also works with the mushroom, which is very convenient because when you trigger the ace with a mushroom, you also get a mushroom back in your item box, which lets you do aces, arbitrary code execution, over and over and over again. And we use that pretty heavily in pretty soon here. This one is actually a one-off ace, so we're not really using the fact that we have a mushroom. But here, just making sure I don't swallow the P-switch, and I'm just going to take the P-switch and kick it up, just like lined up with this ledge. Again, you can look in the document to see that pixel a little bit more closely, but it's like lined up with the edge of the ledge. And then you get back on Yoshi. Make sure you eat the rightmost Koopa again, and then do more shell spits. So I'm gonna kind of fast forward through this. I was talking for a while in the stream, so you just get rid of one of these, do the shell spit. This one has 7 bytes of code that gets run. So it takes a while to do all the spits, and I was like talking with chat or something along with everything else. So what this ace is going to do is basically give you infinite time. It'll write a byte somewhere in RAM, so which will make well, let me rewind a bit. It'll write a byte somewhere in RAM that's that'll basically glitch out the hundreds digit of the timer every frame. So here you need to stand in that spot with Yoshi, screen scroll right, screen scroll left, and that just makes sure that your screen scroll is kind of normalized. And then press select and get that mushroom. And now you can see the timer's 100 digit is indeed glitched out. So that was that. That was the third ace of 4. There's one more ace that you need to set up, and that ace is going to be done repeatedly. Here I'm actually demonstrating, in fact, why it's so useful to have Powerup 15 ace. It's because every time I collect that mushroom, it's running that code again. And so I can just keep dropping it and running the code. Now, it doesn't do anything right now to run the code over and over. It's just writing the same value to the same spot in memory. But later on, it's going to be very useful to be able to do that. So next, I'm going to kind of scan forward. But yeah, next you need to just do the same thing again. Get that piece. Well, okay. Let me reiterate. You have to eat this mole and jump back right across the jump back left across the ledge, and then back right. And then you grab the P switch. Sort of the same thing, except you're going to spit it out in a different spot. Make sure you don't swallow it. Swamp those Koopas. Here, I'm going to play from here now. So you just need to put the P-switch in a different spot than you did before. And it took me a while to figure out where that spot was, but actually maybe not. Yeah, so so at this point, the P-switch and the Yoshi, we're actually going to move a lot and repeatedly ace. Now again, make sure you get rid of the rightmost Koopa here and just spit him out wherever. Now there's 7 bytes of code again to set up for this ace. And I'm gonna fast forward through that. But what this ace, this 7-byte ace does is it takes a value determined by Yoshi's x coordinate and writes it to a memory address determined by the P-switch's x coordinate. So once we have the ace all set up, we're going to keep moving Yoshi and the P-switch around, and each time we do that and then collect the mushroom, it's going to write another byte somewhere in memory. So that's useful. The other thing you have to do though is that the P-switch needs to be at a very specific pixel on screen when you do the ace. And so not only do you have to move Yoshi and Mario, sorry, Yoshi and the P-switch, but Mario also has to be in a specific spot along with the screen scroll so that that P-switch is in that specific pixel on screen. So I'll show you what I mean later, but first let's kind of fast forward through the rest of these spits. There's only 2 more. Okay, so now at this point, I've already placed the P-switch where it needs to go for the first ace, but now I need to place Yoshi. So I place Yoshi. I was looking at the document, place Yoshi, and then after I place Yoshi, I just jump off of him. Remember, Yoshi has to always be facing to the right. As you do this, Yoshi needs to be facing right when you do this, and then you also need to be facing right when you place the P-switch. But then I get into a specific spot with Mario, and then I screen scroll right and then left. And that makes sure that the screen scroll is consistent with where Mario is standing. And right now, if you look at where the P-switch is on the screen, you could draw on your screen with a marker or something, circling it, and every time I ace from now on, the P-switch will be within that circle. So it's very important that the P-switch is at that same pixel on screen when you do the ace. But at this point, Mario's standing in the right spot, and I'm going to drop the mushroom, and it'll write the value determined by Yoshi's x-coordinate to an address determined by the P-switch's x-coordinate. And I actually just kind of cut the video there, but yeah, so then you need to do this a bunch of times, and so each time you're facing right when you do it with Yoshi, you're facing right when you move the P-switch with Mario. One trick you can do sometimes, and I mention it in the document, is that if you walk up against the P-switch and then hold Y and move 1 pixel to the right, then sometimes you'll be in the exact spot you need to be, and you can just throw the P-switch up again. And so that's an easy way to quickly get the P-switch where it needs to be, rather than like trying to judge the pixel and like pick it up and move it around. So so pay attention to the document for where I've noted that you can do that. But at this point, there's just a lot of this, and I'm going to kind of fast forward. So you have to do this by using pictures about, I think, like 8 times or something like that, 7 or 8 times. And but the first 8 times that you do this, after you finish all those aces, it actually writes a coin display. So you've probably seen this before if you've watched my previous code injection routes. So the coin display will display Mario's x-coordinate in the coin counter. So currently the coin counter says 44, but once we finished all this stuff, it'll actually, I'm typing something in a document. Once we finished all this stuff, okay, so first of all, it goes to N9 here. That's because I haven't quite finished writing all the code. But basically, we're writing code into memory that's going to get run every frame. So currently, I've written enough code so that the coin counter gets messed up, but not so that it gets Mario's actual x-coordinate yet. And so after this write here, I'm going to I'm gonna have to place Mario, place Yoshi, place the P switch. Again, I'm doing that trick here where I run up against the P switch and then move right a pixel to pick it up, and it's in the correct spot. And then once I do the actual ace, you'll notice that the coin count changes. So it changes to 29, and as Mario runs around, it changes. So the coin count now goes between 0 and 99, and then after 99 it goes to A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and then B0, B1, B. So the tens digit kind of like keeps going past 9 through 0 through 9, then A through P. So P5 is the last number. P stands for 255 before it wraps around back to 0. So at this point you can use the document, but the first column says a position where you need Yoshi to stand. So remember to be facing right with Yoshi when you hit that position. And the second column says the position that you need to be standing while you're holding the P switch, again facing right. And so you can see I'm trying to get that specific value, C3. And then you walk to the left and with Mario, and if you don't overshoot, and you hit that value, which in this case was 54, you can just press select and get that mushroom. If you do overshoot, you'll need to do that trick again to scroll the screen left and right, or I guess right and left. Wait, he's facing left, so actually, no, it's left. Yeah, right and then left. So I think it'll happen one of these times anyway. Didn't overshoot again, hit the exact pixel. But yeah, so you just like move Yoshi to the correct spot facing right, move the P switch to the correct spot facing right, and actually for most of these you can also just run into the P switch and then do the 1 pixel movement again to get the right spot. So here I did actually have to turn around, so you can see I'm screen scrolling right, screen scrolling left, and this normalizes the screen scroll so that P switch is that pixel perfect on screen coordinate. And then, so you just have to do this a bunch of times. You can see me, like, as I fast forward, you'll see the highlighted line in the document incrementing as I do these. I wanted to make sure I didn't lose my spot. And actually, after let me rewind actually a bit, because I did miss something. At some point, it does change. The first 5 bytes that you write this way, once you've done the coin counter, actually write in a little bit of extra functionality. And that extra functionality that it writes in is something so that when you press A, the P switch moves over 1 pixel to the left. And so once you do that, you do have to move the P switch manually once, but let's see if it'll show it. No. Okay, well I just spin jumped off of Yoshi because that's how you dismount Yoshi, but the P switch wasn't on screen, so you couldn't really see it. But you don't have to move the P switch manually anymore, because every time you dismount Yoshi, it'll get moved over a pixel to the left, which puts it at the correct spot. So you just have to worry about positioning Yoshi while facing right, and then positioning Mario while facing left, making sure the screen scroll is correct, and pressing select. So let's fast forward. Let's fast forward a bit and see if I can catch that happening. So yeah, let's rewind. Okay, so I get in the correct spot, facing right with Yoshi, and I spin jump. One more time. Let's take a look. What, did I just rewind too much? Okay, so watch the P switch as I spin jump off Yoshi. There you go. Moved a pixel to the left. Anyway, so then you just have to get in the spot with Mario, and you can use the coin counter to make that happen pretty quickly. And if you overshoot, screen scroll, etc. Okay, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward through this. There's like 8 more bytes that I have to write this way with these aces, and it just takes a bit of time. So I'm going to actually fast forward quite quickly. But you do this over and over and over. Okay, so once you do the last byte here, so I'm just getting in position with Mario, everything is done for something called the bootstrap. So I'm going to collect the mushroom, and now there's a couple new features. you'll notice the bonus star counter changed. The spin jump is still moving the P-switch over, but the bonus star counter is also changing whenever I spin jump. And so the bonus star counter is basically showing you the x-coordinate of the P-switch. And the x-coordinate of the P-switch is still being used to determine right locations. But you don't have to use Yoshi or the mushroom anymore. In fact, all you have to do is move to an x-coordinate and spin jump, and it will write that x-coordinate as determined, as you can see with the coin counter, to that location with the P-switch. So here the instructions call for moving the P-switch to a certain spot, and then moving to a certain coin count, and spin jumping a bunch of times. But I actually wanted to, before I did this, I wanted to move Yoshi because I didn't want to have to spin jump later. So anyway, I moved Yoshi, and then so it's important you don't overshoot as you're walking to the left with this P-switch, because if the bonus star counter hits 0, and by 0 I mean actual 0, it's a problem. So here you need to move the P-switch to so the coin count has that value 27, and the bonus star counter says 16. Then you move to Mario so that the coin count is A7, and spin jump until that bonus star counter goes down to 1, then to 0, then ticks back around to 255. And so you notice the P-switch kind of warped from left of Mario to right of Mario. That's because it kind of overflowed, or I guess underflowed, and went under 0 all the way back around to 255. So the bonus star counter looks kind of glitched out at 255. Above index 200, the bonus star counter looks glitchy, but this is what the tens digit looks like for the 250 to 255 range, but the document shows what they look like for each different range. But at this point, what I need to do, and what you'll need to do, is look in the document. At index 255, it says to write A7 as well as index 254, and so I need to stand at A7 with Mario, and then spin jump again. And that'll write A7 to index 255 and index 254. Then 253 says C7, so you move to C7 and you spin jump. And then index 252 says D5, so you spin jump. And then D7, you spin jump. And then you're at 250. And so you just keep doing this over and over and over again. So there's a total of 243 bytes or 244 bytes that you have to write this way. And you keep doing it. And this part took me like a half hour to do, so it's pretty time consuming. You have to focus, but once you do this, you're done. So I'm gonna fast forward. You can see me doing a lot of spin jumps. Again, every time you spin jump, the P-switch moves over one. So you can actually kind of slowly track it moving over one. Now, if you do mess up one of these spin jumps, and you write the wrong piece of data, you can actually go over to the P-switch and move it to the right a pixel or two, watching the index display, the bonus star counter, to make sure you're not moving it too far. But you can actually redo writes that way. So you just move the P-switch over to the right. Don't ever try moving it over to the left after you've already moved it to the right, because as soon as you move it to the right, any values that the index counter has shown have been overridden. So just move it to the right, don't try and move it to the left. But once you move it to the right by a couple pixels, you can redo those indices. So if you do mess up, there's a way to do it again. But at this point, so here, oh my god, me rocking my chair, it looks so ridiculous. Anyway, values 100 to 199 in the bonus star counter show up as 0 to 99. But it is actually 100 to 199. And then I'm just going to actually scrub through the video real quick. So once you get past, you can see me going very quickly as the bonus star counter decrements down, down, down. So here you can see it goes to 1 and then to 0, and then it's going to wrap around back to 99. And so that's because we're doing 0 through 99 now rather than 100 through 199. So then as I do more and more of these, I'm getting more and more data written And as I approach 12, 12 is the final byte that needs to be written. So let's go over here and watch the last few bytes. Now once you hit 12, it doesn't automatically install it. That happens when it hits 0. So once you hit 12, make sure you've done it right. If you recorded it, you could even watch it back or whatever if you wanted to make sure everything happened right. But here, once it shows 12 and you write the byte for 12, which is 04, that's the last one. Here it doesn't matter where you stand, you just spin jump 11 times until the bonus star counter hits 0. So I think I will do that here momentarily. There we go. So I'm spin jumping until it hits 0. Actually, I paused a little bit at 1 for suspense. Once you do hit 0, the last spin jump won't show anything and the game will freeze. So it'll actually stay frozen on 1. And so you can see that's what's happened here. The time is not moving anymore. The game is frozen. I didn't pause or anything. That's just how it worked. So at this point, since the game is frozen, there's nothing to do but reset. So you reset, and hopefully you did everything right. If you didn't do everything right, you may not have a save file, or a save file C, that is. Or if you do have save file C, it might load incorrectly, or even if it loads incorrectly, the hex editor might not work perfectly. So all of that stuff can happen if you made any mistakes. But if you didn't make any mistakes, you just load save file C. That'll kick you back to the title screen. You load save file A or whatever you want again, and then you have the hex editor. And at that point, I always like to test out the hex editor by going to not this address, but the address just to the right of it. And you can increment it or decrement it to change Mario's power-up state. So here he becomes big, and then he moves on to cape, and then firepower. Let's fast forward because I was just kind of mimicking it. Fast forwarding, cape, fire flower. You can go to other power-up states. This power-up state is pretty silly if you haven't seen it before. Let me actually rewind a bit more. This is Powerup State EA, where Mario moons you. And if you move to the left or to the right, you become this weird question mark block thing. If you actually run fast enough, Mario disappears. And it's just this really weird glitched out Powerup State. It's pretty cool though. But there's some other cool things you can do with it. But anyway, this isn't a video about what you can do with the hex editor. This is how to install the hex editor. So hopefully I covered a bunch of useful topics if you are thinking of doing this for yourself. Again, the instructions, the link to the instructions are in the video description, and you can just check that out. This is very accessible at this point. There's no difficult execution in anything I just did. It just requires a diligent attention to the details of the document and the ability to determine what pixel you're standing on, which can be hard on some screens. But if you can hook it up to an LCD screen, you can probably figure it out. Here I edited an address that let me just beat the level instantly. This address is pretty cool. It's if you go to page 14 and you go to this spot on the screen, just increment it by pressing R, and it'll just beat the level for you. It's pretty funny. Okay, well, it's up to you now. It's up to you to try and install it. So I hope this works out for you. That's about it. Thanks for watching.